this whole tooth. That sucks. Oof. So, we got a new tool for the shop, and in less than a day, I've already broken it down into tiny pieces, and it doesn't work. This is a shaper. It's a wood shaper, so it spins the tool round and round instead of back and forth like on a metal shaper, but although otherwise the exact same tool, right? Got it home, found out that the quill, where the cutter sits, would not rise up and down. There's a little hand wheel down here that you spin, and it was just stuck. So I poked around for a good hour thinking there was some kind of cam or lock or something, and then I finally just started tearing it apart and pulled the quill assembly out, and sure enough, the teeth on part of this are just completely wrecked. Actually, you can still see some stuff still stuck in there. This is the part that mates with that. And actually, it has stuff stuck in there too. Ooh. Well, there's your problem. I'm gonna go clean this off really quick. I'll be right back. Okay, that's not exactly clean, but it's clean enough that I can see that these teeth are mostly okay. I just need to make sure there's no other cast iron chunks stuck in them. So the real issue is how to deal with this guy, and I think the plan is to try to braze some bronze onto here, and then file them back into shape. And I did wonder if this was from a defect in the casting, because there was a huge hole here, which isn't good, but I don't know. I have some theories on how this happened, which I'll explain later when we put this back together. But let's take this over to the welding table. And by welding table, of course, I mean the cast iron infeed table for my wood planer, where I like to keep all kinds of junk. This is actually a key copier, an Ilco, and it's one of those tools that I didn't need and didn't want, but it was sitting in a pile of junk, kind of made puppy dog eyes at me and then followed me home. Once you start to feed them, they just never leave. So it occurred to me that I'd never actually tried to braze cast iron before, so I started ripping through my shop looking for a piece of scrap cast iron that I could practice on, and I found this. This is I guess the base plate for my arbor press. It's one of those things I bought from Vivor for really cheap and then kind of wished I hadn't. Anyways, if I damage this, I won't be sad. So my plan is to heat this up and then braze it, I think is what you're supposed to do. But then I thought, let's see what happens if we don't preheat it, just for learning. And yeah, so I'll at least try to clean that up. I've got some, I think this is, what is this, 3/32 silicon bronze. And might as well clean things with some acetone. Leave that guy. Alright, this should be interesting. Welding helmet. Yeah, we're gonna need a welding helmet for welding. Alright, on DC TIG, foot pedal control, and I've got it set to 140 amps. Alright, that's not going to work at all. Definitely need to heat up the substrate first. So, let's do that. $134. I think we want it like 500. So I'm just going to keep on hitting it. We're at 400. Alright, let's see if we can get something to stick this time. Well, doesn't look good. I have a feeling that's going to pop right off. Maybe not. I guess the question is what happens when it cools down. Man, that is rough. It just keeps spitting crap out from the casting. Like you think it's going okay, and then it just spits out a big hiss of gas. I'm gonna see what happens if I grind a smooth spot into it. I don't know if that would make any difference. But yeah, there's something about this I'm not understanding. I keep getting these ugly holes. I'll let this cool down, see if those can be chipped off or if they're actually adhering nicely. Okay, new plan. We're gonna try AC TIG. Let's see if that works. I don't know. Let's see what pulsed DC looks like. This sucks. Okay. I'm gonna let that cool down. Okay, so I did a little bit more practice, and yeah, it looks really hilariously bad, but I started to learn a few things. Managing heat and weighting is really important. If you start to pour too much heat into it, you start to melt the cast iron, and you get a lot of bad reactions. Now, this is mostly cooled down, and I can't break any of these off. In fact, I started hitting it with a hammer. So the bond is pretty good. I think what's faking me out is I'm just not getting much wetting action. But another thing that I learned was switching to a smaller rod really helped. I was using a 3/32, and when I switched to a 1/16, I started doing a lot better. So I also consulted the internet, and a lot of people are using aluminum bronze TIG rod, not silicon bronze for this type of application. But I don't have any aluminum bronze, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try this. This is pretty clean looking, but I think I'm going to grind it down a little bit. I'm mostly just worried about oil being in there. Okay. Now we're going to preheat. And this might take a while. All right, we're pretty much at 500 Fahrenheit there. Get this. More good scrubbing. I should give myself something to rest my arm on. There we go. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Well, it doesn't look impressive, but I'm pretty sure it's stuck on there real good. I'm going to hit it with the wire wheel really quick, and then we'll get this in a vise and we'll start filing. You know what? I think I'm going to start this on the belt sander. Just get most of the material off, and I'll be right back. So I got this far, and I thought I was doing really well, and then I saw a little edge I didn't like, and I dug into it, and this whole tooth just started moving. So clearly my braze isn't bonding. I kind of wonder if they're all going to be like that now. That sucks. They seem so solid, but that other one seems solid too before it just popped right out. Oh, look at that. That's awful. It's hard to really trust any of it now. Okay, so we know this didn't stick, and some of this other one is coming loose. I think we might have to check everything else. I don't think this is gonna be good, but so that actually grabbed a bunch of cast iron with it. So that one seemed to bond better. And that one grabbed a bunch of cast iron with it. So maybe we're not doing so bad here. Alright, I think I want to try something different. I think I want to try adding silver solder flux and see if that helps us make a better bond. Start with our test piece here. I think that worked way better. I could actually see it. I could see it wetting out as it was attaching. Okay. That's the plan. That's what we're doing. Now I've got to heat this thing up. This is the stuff I'm using. Braze. Silicone bronze. 1/16. And we're going to cut this in half just to make it easier to work with. Alright, time to heat this up. Okay, this is my second repair attempt, and I think that went much better. So I had to knock off all of the other bronze that I did, and this time when I added the bronze on, I used still save flux, which I don't know if it's meant for this application, but it definitely seemed to help it wet out better, and so I trust this much more than the last one that I did. So it's not quite as nice as the first time around, but we're picking up a few battle scars, but it does seem to mate nicely with the gear. Maybe it's, yeah, it seems pretty good. So I'm gonna go make sure this piece still fits in the quill holder, whatever it's called, and we can start putting things back together. Okay, so maybe I can kind of just barely show you what's going on here. This is where the quill goes. This is where the up-down gear feed attaches. So you can see in the bottom, there's that worm gear. So let me try to mount this camera somewhere, and I'll see if I can do a test fit. Okay, so here's the quill, and that goes that away. And then this gear assembly is going to go in from the side. Okay, so now I'm going to actuate the lever in the front, or the Alright, that is working beautifully. So, let's pop this out. Heavy grease. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to show you what's going on in here. So this is the quill, and I've just pushed it up, and there's a screw over here which goes into that groove, so that keeps it from rotating. So I'm going to try to put this back. Get that screw back in. Okay. Good. So over here, there's a worm gear, which attaches to the handle on the front of the machine. The worm gear spins this gear, which spins this, and this is what moves the quill up and down. Okay. And let me go turn the hammer on. Alright, that's working super smooth. Alright, so this is from the right side of the machine. So there's the quill. These are the teeth we just repaired. That's the gear that I just put in. And if I crank this up, I can test to make sure that that runs through the new teeth without any friction. Alright, that's the top. It was at this point in editing the video that I realized that I hadn't really taken time to explain why I thought the teeth on the quill broke in the first place. And this is a good view to show what's happening here. If you look at the smaller gear that my finger is pointing to, the quill teeth are hanging off of that smaller pinion gear. So the entire weight of the spindle assembly below the quill is hanging off of those gear teeth. So, and as you're about to see, I'm going to add, maybe 100-pound motor assembly onto that quill as well. So it's a lot of weight. Now there is going to be a spring that's going to help support that weight and help support the motor as the quill is lifted up and down. But if this machine were ever transported and dropped, the spring wouldn't help that much. You still have a very sudden force right on those gear teeth. And the manufacturer hasn't provided a proper way to lock the quill. You can see just below my finger there's the screw, which is like a pin to keep the quill indexed. Now you could drive that in harder to kind of lock it, but it's not quite the same as being able to clamp down on the whole quill. So I'm guessing this machine got dropped, and that's when the teeth broke, and I found out about it when I inherited it. And then what happens next is we put this piece in, and that kind of offers the other, I guess, axle support for that gear. There we go. And then there's a set screw here, which keeps that guy from turning around. Okay. And this is part of the clamping mechanism for locking the quill. So that's why that has a set screw, because it needs to be able to go back and forth. Alright, so I'll show you that part next. So there's that gear, kind of. Okay. Alright, now everybody's in place. This piece goes on top of that gear. And then this piece goes through the entire assembly. Thread it through the gear first. Okay. And now I'm threading it into that nut that we just put on the other side. So now everything is captured. And then there's this knob assembly. Comes in from the outside, and it's going to match up with that set screw. And it's got a nut to lock it down. Okay, let's see if we can get the motor in next. That'll be fun. So the motor's going to drop onto this pin, and then there's another pin up top. It sucks. Come on, top pin. Come on, top pin. Be a team player. All right, so this spring is what helps counteract the weight of the motor, so it's easier to adjust the whole assembly up and down, and it gets captured in here. I guess the question is how to get it on there. When I took it off, it just shot off. That was easy. But I could press it up with a clamp. Probably end up launching it somewhere. I can press it by hand. I just don't know if I can turn the wrench and do everything I need to do. It's not going to be easy. Oof. Okay, now let's put the handle for the motor adjustment. Actually, I need a screwdriver for that. Where's my stubby screwdriver? So this is a huge design flaw. The adjustment for the motor swing is tapped out because the motor frame hits this spring assembly, and that actually makes it really hard to get the motor belt on. There we go. Okay. I never actually know which 220 volt plugs I want to use for things. This is kind of the first thing that was convenient. Although I'll probably end up putting like welder style plugs on everything at some point. But this is one of those plugs that's pretends to have strain relief, but it really doesn't because it's just hard plastic. Alright, well, sorry if that video got a little bit long. I actually shot all of those sequences about 7 months ago, and I'm just now getting around to editing everything. In that period of time, though, the shaper's been working fine. I feel pretty confident in the Quill repair that we did. Still not sure about the shaper's place in the shop. I thought when I got it, it would I was hoping at least it would replace a router table. But I'm not really sure about that. It can't quite spin as fast as a router. I did make some zero clearance inserts for it to accommodate smaller bits, since this was the smallest throat plate that came with the machine. So I just printed these on my 3D printer, and they just kind of pop in, and then the whole size can be cut to suit the bit. I also got a larger belt. I was having trouble putting the other belt on because it felt a little bit short. So the other belt was a K23 and this is a K24. So I guess it has one more K. Probably put this on next time I go to change belt speeds. I do hope this video is useful to someone. I know that Quill repair was a learning process for me, so if anyone can learn anything from my mistakes, that'd be awesome. And thanks for watching. Got a nice little rust stain there. Got your super classy dust collection masking tape. That's always a good one. I do hope someone can find this video useful. Where's my stubby screwdriver?